Hey, what's up, everybody? It's the Political Brown Kid here. And once again, like Charlie Brown with the football, I watched Bill Maher once again. And once again, Bill Maher did not let me down in showing his colors. And like I told y'all, the liberal racism, it runs rampant with him. He wasn't, I'm not going to say he was totally bad tonight, but what Bill Maher likes to do is he likes to throw stuff out there. He does things that white media typically does, and that is he'll throw stuff out there on his platform, which is the Real Time of Bill Maher show, knowing you have a big audience and this stuff. He doesn't think he's doing any damage because one thing I can tell you about white people is once they feel comfortable and they feel as though you've accepted them in their space, they think as though they have the right to now chime in on black issues and they can tell you what you need to do. They always like to control things. They have to be the line leader. So Bill Maher, and I'm going to talk about, he had another guy on his show the week before, a guy named Coleman Hughes. He did a sit down with him, and I'm going to touch on that too in this clip as well. But this night, which was last night, he was speaking with Ann Coulter and Van Jones. Before I begin, I'm going to say this. There's some things about Van Jones that I criticize. Criticize that he's in an interracial relationship. I do. I criticize that. I kind of understand it. And they're dealing with trying to date these sisters now. I understand probably why he did it because the sisters probably was turning him down. So I get it. But I criticize that portion of it. I'm going to be honest with you. But I think last night he did a very good job of calling out their dog whistle and throwing one right back at him. And he did a very good job of respectfully and civilly dealing with Ann Coulter and her hyper racist self. She's definitely racist. That's just my personal opinion. So the first clip that I'm going to play, it's what Ann Coulter does, and what a lot of, and if you ever listen to conservative talk radio, which I do, and the reason why I do is I like to hear what all sides are saying. I like to hear what liberals are saying. I like to hear what conservatives are saying because I'm an independent. So what she does is she throws out this theory that the shooters in that Kansas City parade was not a white person because they did not show the person's identity. Now, what I do know today is that the individuals were teenagers or they're under 18, so that's why their identities have not been released. But I will say this. I typically agree with her on this point as well. I think that the shooters probably weren't because it was two of them, so I hear. And they may or may not have been. I don't know. They could have been young white teenage boys. I don't know. Or young white teenage girls. They could have been anything. But she may be right on this point. But it's something that the Republicans they're masterful at doing is definitely trying to call out when white people are being backlash. So let me play that clip real quick.
I mean, we don't know who did this shooting, by the way, the Super Bowl.
We have some idea.
What?
If it were a white man shooting, we'd know.
Well, we don't know. But
That's how we know it's not a white man. I can tell you that much.
You think they were repressing that reporting?
They wouldn't tell us about the transgender woman that shot up the Christian school for what, like a year? San Bernardino out here. Remember the crazy terrorist Muslims? That's when I first noticed, they're not telling us who it is. It's not a white male. The longer they go without telling you, it's not a white male.
So that's Ann Coulter. So that's the liberal or the conservative dog whistle that, trying to defend white men. They do that a lot. Now, the next clip, I'm just going to jump into this right now, is that this is when they get into the heart of the matter, because they started talking about, just to give you all some backdrop, and you all can watch Bill Maher if you want. I'd recommend not doing it. But if you want the complete context to make up your own mind, you can. You know he's on HBO. But they were talking about the parade incident with the gunplay and, how one person was killed, 22 were injured. So then they started talking about statistics on, what the laws are in Kansas City on guns, and then they start talking about what the people would like and what the national from Kansas City as opposed to what the national viewpoint is. So then, of course, Bill Maher had to take that as a chance to talk about, quote unquote, they love talking about and branding it as black on black crime. You never hear them when white kids start shooting up schools, you never hear them say, well, there's a white kid mass shooting epidemic. Why do white kids love to shoot up schools? They never have that conversation, but they love to talk about, quote unquote, black on black crime. They love talking about that. Like there's no such thing as Asian on Asian crime, white on white crime, and so forth. People commit crimes in their neighborhoods. You commit crimes against the people that you see every day. That's what people do. It's unfortunate, particularly violent crimes. So, but they never talk about when these white kids start going on mass sprees in schools and in these other spaces. So here I'm going to play the clip where Bill Maher, he's talking about the leading cause of, being, of transitioning out of this world and into the netherworld for young black men. And Bill Maher starts talking about black on black crime. So just listen to this. No, wait, before I do that, let me do this. Because this kind of conversation runs together. Bill Maher's going to bring up he's going to give the statistics on and go into kind of this black on black crime talk. You're going to hear Van Jones come back. And the thing that I like that Van Jones does is he masterfully comes back and sneaks in a little dig at white people as well, because white people love, once again, like I say, white people are not y'all's friend. Y'all keep thinking they are. They're not. Bill Maher's doing this whole big, basically this took up the whole show. This was the whole show. This whole big bit on black crime. Well, they never talk about white on white crime. They never talk about white mass, shootings and things that white people do. They never talk about this type of stuff. So Van Jones comes back and gives a little dig of statistics of his own on, the white suicide crisis. And then Ann Coulter steps in and she wants to talk, once again, pivoting back to black on black crime. And then she attributes it to a little something. So I'm gonna leave that as a hanger for you to listen to. So just check this out.
Here's what we do know. We do know that for young black men, gun homicides are the leading cause of death. And that leading cause outstrips the next 15 causes combined. That's how bad it is. Also, black men ages 18 to 25 die from gun homicides at a rate nearly 19 times that of white young men, same age. Okay, and they're not being killed by white supremacists.
Exactly.
They're being killed by each other.
Absolutely.
That is the truth.
Absolutely.
Okay, this is sort of what you started to talk about. And given that this problem is internal, does it need to be more resolved internally? I mean, I've often asked this question.
I agree with you. The amount of self-inflicted harm. There's a suicide crisis among young white kids and a homicide crisis among young black kids, and we're not doing enough about either one, and we should be doing a lot more. A lot.
And Van is right that it's the media who do not care about blacks killing blacks. And this is the one time where I think, you always hear, pretty white girl, they'll cover that. No, the blacks killing blacks will not get covered by the media. That's a huge media problem. And you'll all laugh at me, but I'm going to say it because I'm right.
Very right.
Cause of this
Far right.
is illegitimacy. All of these young men do not have fathers. And that is a huge, huge source of it. Anything that could be done to reduce the illegitimacy rate, particularly among the black community, it would be astronomical, the changes you'd see. Do you know, just one fact, if you take away the factor of illegitimacy, the difference in the black and the white crime rate disappears. It's an amazing fact.
It would be an amazing fact if it were true, but
I'm holding my composure here because typically this is the type of stuff that really sends me through the roof and kind of boils my blood. And I'm going to explain why. If any of you are followers of my channel, you've looked at my video. I did a video recently on the In-N-Out Burger in Oakland closing down. And basically what I was just trying to do was warn the people that you don't want stuff to start shutting down in your communities. We've seen this, and even in like neighborhoods like Harlem, I think they shut down a Target in Harlem because of the rampant theft and violence around there. I think some Walmarts have been shutting down in places like Chicago. They're starting to shut down stores, and they're shutting them down in particular communities. And you people are going to suffer because not unless you're going to start getting everything delivered to your home, you don't want your area to become a food desert or to become a resource desert, period, whatever resource that may be. And then also, you just don't want the crime just running down your neighborhood. You don't want to have to, for people who have to work these jobs, and then you have to travel out of your community and drive or catch 39 buses. I don't know what your transportation system looks like, but now you have to do extra traveling to get to where you need to go. But that's beside the point. But in the comment section, and I know they were white people, and I know that they're white racists, but particularly they're white people, and they probably don't think that they're racist, but they think that they know black issues. The comments in my video were the illegitimacy. If black people have all of these illegitimate kids, and they attribute that to crime. Let me tell y'all something, and this is Ann Coulter up here, and even Bill Maher kind of sides in with her like, yeah, well, that does play a part of it. These white people, they don't know you. They don't have any insight into you. You don't see them hanging out in your neighborhoods or the neighborhoods particularly that are affected. They hang out with rich black people. The only black people they probably know, Ann Coulter probably only knows Charles Payne. He's on Fox Business. She probably knows Clarence Thomas. She probably knows a handful of black people that are rich, that don't live in regular middle class or lower middle class or lower class neighborhoods. She's not embedded in those communities, and she thinks she knows the problem because she knows 2 or 3 rich black people. And those rich black people probably said some ignorant stuff out of their mouth because they don't know. But the illegitimacy issue has very little to do with the crime. It is a part of it. It kind of factors in, but not really. Because it's the same thing when you ask people too, like, and I make this argument. How is it that you have a lot of kids in America claiming, we need more resources, we need more books, we need better resources and Apple laptops, and we need all of this stuff, iPads in our schools so that we can learn better. And you have some poor kid in Africa, whether it's Ghana or Kenya, and you got some poor kids coming over here from China and Thailand, and they can come over here and excel. They're already straight A students where they're at now, and they come here and they're still straight A students and can run rings around you. It's not a resource issue. It's a mindset. Get yourself together. The resource has nothing to do with it. So the same thing, and here's the argument. I was going to do a complete video on this, but I'm going to give you a rundown. But this is what I want to get people to understand. Illegitimacy has very little to do with this. And Van Jones is going to stick his mouth where I'm going to really disagree with Van Jones, and I'm going to bring this clip up in a minute, so I'm not going to talk about it, but we'll get to it. But I may touch somewhat on it here. I am going to touch on it here. But let me explain something to you all. Illegitimacy has nothing to do with anything. Just because you are an illegitimate child, it doesn't mean anything. It just means you were born out of wedlock. That is it. And I wish that Kevin Samuels was still alive because he had some statistic. And even right now, I think some other people in this space have statistics that show that black fathers are the most involved parents out of any other male demographic group, out of Asians, out of Caucasians. That has been a statistical fact, and they've just proven that fact. The problem is the type of father that is in this person's life, or type of father figure that is in this person's life. That is the issue. That is the issue. And some of it too is a lack of a father figure, or it's just really a resource issue, but it could be a lack of a mother figure. They're putting it all on illegitimacy. And this is the point that I wanted to make. Illegitimacy is just a more modern view of a family structure. Because I've gone through this already now as a parent, as a former husband. And that was one of the things that hurt me about my divorce, is that you're breaking up a home. And I told my friends, I said, man, if I knew that I would have wound up getting a divorce, I would have never had kids. And it's not that I don't love my kids, because I love my kids. But when you see the hurt and pain that you cause a child, that when a child is exposed to a nuclear family and that's what they've known for, since if they have that awareness of that, and then you rip that from them, those children can act out. Some children act out sexually. Some children act out, violently. Some children act out in school. They act out in various different ways. Or if they just lose a parent due to a loss or tragedy, people act out. So when you look at the divorce rates in this country, and you look at women filing for divorce rates at 70 something percent, over 70% divorces that women are leaving men. What difference does it make if a child is born in wedlock or out of wedlock? A child, regardless, that child is being brought up in a one parent home. And the people that I know that were brought up in one parent, I know a few people that were brought up in one parent households, but they have their both parents in their life. I know these people. And when I talk, because when I went through my divorce, when I talked to them, they were like, well, that's all I've known. So, my dad lived here, my mom lived there. And I just, and I saw both of them. And, I spent time with my dad, I spent time with my mom. And that was their normal. When you talk to a child that was born in wedlock, meaning their parents were wedded, their parents were married, but then they divorced maybe when the child was 1 year old, 2 years old, 3 or 4. If you ask them, those people today, those people are like, well, that's what I know. My parents have been divorced. I didn't really know them when they lived together. I was young. But you still come from a broken home. You still come from a broken home. And then you have those kids that have, God forbid, and trust me, I fall into this category where you had kids that they've known you. They've seen the nuclear family where they had mom and dad and all of y'all took vacations together. All of y'all went out together and had fun together. Y'all went to sleep and partied in the house together and y'all did things together. And then all of a sudden, after all of these years, it's over. And those kids are devastated. I fall into that category. But, and you just parent the best you can. So what I'm basically saying is this: it's no different from when you talk about illegitimacy. That has nothing to do with it, because you look at these parents too. There are a lot of kids that are brought up in LGBTQ households. You have 2 gay parents. There's 2 men in the household. So where's the mother figure at? Where do these kids, whether they be young boys or young girls, where do they see mother figures and know how to act like mothers or young women? When you have 2 people brought up in a lesbian household, you see 2 women. So I'm just trying to figure out where they're going with this whole illegitimacy, and that's why kids are out here shooting guns and just out here robbing and carjacking and just being assholes in the streets. It's really about you having the wrong parental influences in your life. Your parent is an asshole, and whether it's your mother or whether it's your father, you have a parent that's an asshole. They don't care. And the type of people that are in our community, and trust me, we all know this. We all know these people because we're middle class. And when you're in the middle, you know everybody. You know lower class people, you know upper class people, you know other middle class people. And you know how these people operate. They don't care. They're only worried about themselves, partying, hanging out at clubs. They have the wrong values. And unfortunately, God and the universe allowed them to procreate, and they're raising future bastards. And that's what it's about. It's not about illegitimacy. It's about bad parenting. But I'm going to kind of circle back to all of this when I wrap this up, because I want to let Van Jones bring up this other point, and I'm going to kind of tie it in with this. So let's just listen to Van Jones with this comment that he's going to say here.
This wasn't always a problem in the Black community, was it? I mean, like 50 years.
Correct. It's gotten much worse.
I think you have family structures changing across the board. I agree with you that the African American family structure has changed the most, and I think with mostly bad outcomes. But I don't want to blame, honestly, single Black moms who right now are going to their second job, trying to put food on the table, and say it's their fault that these kids are doing what they're doing. It is, if you do the work, it just turns out that some of the stuff is a lot more simple. when a kid has a shot and has some hope and has some opportunity, they act better than when they don't. And we all can take care of that, not just the disadvantage.
Okay.
So this is where I have a problem with Van Jones. And this is the big problem in our community too. It's also one where, we're not coming down hard enough on, the foolishness that we do see in our community. Like you see these flash mobs where some of these people need to be knocked the hell out. Just like Debo got knocked out. I don't care if these kids are 9 years of age, they need to be knocked out. If you're out here in the streets, and I'm going to do a video also on this too, is that we're trying to raise black kids as if they were white kids. You're trying to raise inner city kids, and I shouldn't say inner city, but you're trying to raise kids that are growing up in a tough environment like you're raising some kid, whether they're white, black, or Asian or whatever, like you would raise them in the suburbs. You gotta listen. That's why when you say spare the rod, spoil the child, and that's exactly what's happening with a lot of these little badass kids. You can't touch them, or the social service is gonna be called, police is gonna be called. Back in the day, you would have got your ass whooped. And nowadays, we're letting kids, because we've adopted white values and white people have trying to tell us how to parent our kids when they can't raise their own. Their kids cuss them the hell out in public. Their kids are shooting up malls, shooting up schools, and committing all kind of mass murders. And we're allowing that type of behavior because the government's telling us how to parent our kids. So I just wanted to say that. But here's what I'm getting at. Van Jones, the only problem, this was the big problem that I had. I thought he masterfully handled Ann Coulter, and I thought he masterfully handled Bill Maher, and he pushed back when necessary. However, you have to hold people accountable, and you don't want to hold a single mother accountable because she's black. Everybody, I just learned a new terminology today, misogynoir. I just thought it was misogyny, where, I guess that's when a man thinks lesser of a woman or whatever. Now there's a term called misogynoir, a hatred of black women. And I'm like, God dang, so do they have a term for a hatred of white women or hatred of Asian women? Why is everything directed towards our people? But that's beside the point. But the thing is that we never want to hold black women accountable for anything. And I would say the same thing if black men were raising these kids. If black men are raising a child and that child is out here acting like an asshole, they need to be held accountable too. But we know mostly it's these black women that have control over the kids. And it is unfortunate because here's the big issue. And it kind of does have to, I'm going to pivot to illegitimacy in this respect. The reason why I'm putting a lot of blame on black women is because of this. And a lot of other people have said this in this space. Kevin Samuels has said it. And I know a lot of you women hate Kevin Samuels, so you're going to be triggered right now that I brought him up. But you can listen to any other black person on here. You can listen to J.R. Wisdom. He'll probably agree. You can listen to Average Man Unplugged. He'll probably agree. You can listen to O'Shea Duke Jackson. He'll probably agree. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll disagree with me on this. But here's the issue. And maybe even Kendra G will agree with me on this because I'm going to quote her show. You had a black female on Kendra G, and I'm going to use this as an example. She had 7 babies by 6 different people. One, she said she had a baby with another female, and I'm like, how is that possible? Even Kendra G's like, wait a minute, hold on, how'd you have a baby? The man had to be involved in there somehow. So she had a baby with 5 different men and a woman. Jesus, that's an immaculate conception of any. But what she did was they used a surrogate where she let a guy physically, do his thing on her. She didn't use the turkey baster. She did it the natural way. So they had an agreement. So that's why she said the female is there. And then she had a baby with 4 other guys. And then she had a baby with the last guy. And so Kendra G said, well, why aren't you with the last guy's father? She said, well, he was too churchy. He was too Christian. Oh, my God. So now the man has too many standards and he's too nice, so you don't want to be with him. Then she asked him, well, what about the other babies' fathers? Well, they were all on drugs. They this, they that. The problem that I'm going with is this. And like Kevin Samuels and them and a lot of other people in the space have brought it up before. Most of these men, most black men do not have babies, and they don't have a lot of babies. It is a few black men that are able to, that these women, that black women find to be so attractive and so sexy because they're such the cream of the crop of our race, that these black women are allowing a few men to knock all of them up. That's why you look. That's why I brought up this woman. She has 5 and 6 baby daddies, and there was one woman on. I just saw a video. This one guy had 5 baby mamas, and he took a picture with all of them. You look at Nick Cannon. He running around. He just knocking women up. They're allowing 1 or 2 men to knock all of them up, and they know the guy can't take care of those responsibilities. He can't spread himself that thin, and I'm not letting him off the hook. If you're creating all of these babies in the world, you should be actively involved. You should, if you know you can't actively give your time and attention to 7 and 8 and 9 different kids with 9 different baby mamas, you shouldn't have made all of those kids. But these women should also say, why, if it's your body, your choice, why are you choosing to have a baby and carry this baby to term? And you know where I'm going with that, so you should have chose the other option, should have chose that other pill, that plan B pill. Why are you choosing to have a baby with someone that you know you don't have a future with? Why are you choosing to have a baby with some drug addicts, with some street dudes? And all of these women are doing the same thing. They are choosing to have babies by hood dudes. And then thus they become a single parent. And then this is where the illegitimacy comes in, but the illegitimacy isn't the problem. Because if she was a good mother, if she was a fantastic mother and she had the resources, she could devote her time and attention to taking care of her 5, 6, 7 children, or even if it was 1 or 2. Because I know a female right now. I know a female. She has, I think, 2 or 3 kids. She has 2 or 3 kids, single parent, but she makes a lot of money. She has help. I'm like, she has all kind of, she has a nanny. I'm like, how do you have the girl has a nanny. She has a lot of other resources to help her. And her kids are fine. And she has the type of job where she doesn't work that hard. So she's able to dedicate time and attention to her children. So, but when you're a woman that has 5 and 6 and 7 kids and you only making $50,000 and $70,000, and trust me, even $90,000, it's not a lot of money. I can tell y'all right now, $200,000 is not a lot of money. If y'all think $200,000 is a lot of money, y'all fooling yourselves. Trust me, as a single parent, $200,000 doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. I'm gonna be honest with you. It just doesn't work. But maybe that's me, and it also depends upon where you live too. If you live in some small town in Iowa or Cleveland, or I don't know, some small cheap area, maybe that flies. But when you are strapped for resources, you cannot take care of all of those kids. And these women are choosing to have babies with the wrong men, and they have the wrong figures in their life. And Van Jones does not want to hold these women accountable for being selective with their body and being selective with whom they reproduce with. Now, if you just wanted to use this person for his body because you thought he was the finest thing on earth and you just had to have a sample, then maybe I'll give you a pass on that. But you should at least been like, okay, but you got to strap up twice. I'm going to take 4, 5 pills. I'm going to take my Monday pill, my Tuesday and Wednesday pill all on the same day. All on Wednesday. And I'm taking a plan B afterwards. But y'all don't do that. Y'all have these babies with these dudes because y'all love hanging out in the hood. Y'all love hanging out in the gutter. And then you wind up getting your emotions wrapped up with these dudes. And then all of a sudden you love them and you think you're going to change them. Thus, the cycle of this foolishness continues. I have one more clip that I'm going to play. This wasn't from this show, which aired this past weekend, the weekend of what was that? It was aired on the 16th, February 16th. So this show aired actually the week before, which would have been aired February 9th. He had this black dude, some Bama, some loser named Coleman Hughes on his show. And this guy's name is Coleman Hughes, and he's a black, just assimilator, basically. And Bill Maher's throwing out some statistics, and I want to talk about the statistics that he throws out, but I just want you to listen to it.
Let me read the stats that you were kind of alluding to. First time in American history, most white people live in mixed-race neighborhoods. First time ever, and are not unhappy about it. 70% of married black adults are married to someone from another race. 80% of black employees say their environment at work is excellent or good and find it welcoming.
Okay, y'all are probably like, well, why did you play that clip? Because that clip didn't sound bad. It just sounded like he gave some statistics, but y'all didn't catch what I'm catching. What I'm catching is this. So he just threw out some statistics, and I don't know if his statistics are true or not. But the statistic that he threw out, it said that 70%, not unless he said 17, I could barely kind of hardly hear him, but it sounded like he said 70% of black people are marrying non-black people. So basically, they're in an interracial relationship, interracial marriage. So are you saying that 70% of marriages from black people, we're no longer marrying each other? That's excuse me. But that is critical. If he's saying that 70% of black people getting married today aren't marrying each other, but that kind of ties in with what I've been saying before is that, we don't love each other anymore. We don't even like each other. Black people have been trying to assimilate so hard, and now we've lost the black woman. She doesn't want to deal with us. And it's becoming terrible. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because of this. There's two reasons. Well, how do you get to this figure? I would love to know where he's getting this figure from. Because also, if you think about it, Dr. Umar Johnson just pointed out a very good fact that the census numbers showed that the black population dropped by about 3 million people, 3 or 4 million people from the previous census done in the mid 2010s to the latest census. Well, I think they did it on 2020 or whatever, around that time. It was around the COVID time. So basically what Dr. Umar Johnson is saying is this: the black population didn't drop by 3 or 4 million. It's just that black people have reclassified themselves as mixed or other. And that is very critical because we know black people hate themselves and they want so bad to find a way out so that they can claim Indian in their family, or they can claim this, that, and the third. So a lot of these black people are claiming mixed and or other. It was on Kendra G. This was another example I'm going to give. I told you I watch Kendra G a lot. I like her. It was a black female. I think she's actually in Kansas City, and she was basically saying that the men in Kansas City were trash, thus the shooting, I guess. But she was basically saying, and it was a black female. She was an attractive black female too. And she was basically saying, because she has a daughter, and she was basically bashing black men, talking about how she don't like black. Well, she said that she likes black men, but the black men in Kansas City were trash. So let me just be correct. But the point that she made was this. She said, or what she said was this. She said, well, my daughter's father, she was like, he's black and German. And she was like, yeah, so my daughter's mixed. So I'm trying to figure, I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. So her father's black. He just has a part, he has some German in him. He's black. But just because just because he's half black, quote unquote, and you're fully black, now your daughter classifies as mixed. So that's how she's classifying her daughter as being mixed, because her father is not, quote unquote, fully black. And this is where I'm going to do a whole video on how white people have tricked black people into denying being black. And this is what's destroying our race. So the point that I want to bring up is this. So I'm bringing up that. So you have a lot of reclassification. So when Bill Maher spouting out this figure, are these black people that are marrying other black people that are, quote unquote, mixed and not classifying themselves as black? Is that a part in that statistics? And then also too, if that is the case, why isn't Bill Maher just as alarmed that the black race is not loving each other anymore? Why isn't Bill Maher talking about the Cynthia G's of the world? Why isn't he talking about, the black bashing between black men and black women, and how they're talking about divesting from each other and hating each other? And why not trying to solve that issue? He doesn't care about that issue, because as long as white people are fine, he doesn't care. He doesn't care that the black race is being destroyed in any other issue. The only thing he wanted to do was make black people look bad by talking about gunplay. That's it. Bill Maher is a piece of trash. I do not like the guy. So I'm just putting that out there. But let me all know what y'all think. I just want to wrap this up because I've been talking for 30 minutes and I didn't want to keep y'all this long, but I knew I was because I had a lot to talk about. But let me know what y'all think. Drop comments in the comment section. Definitely hit the like and subscribe button. This is the Political Brown Kid. Take care.